Well, good evening, everybody. Here we are, the second episode of Flatcap Whisky, where today we're going to review Glenkinchie 10.
Glenkinchie 10.
Glenkinchie. And it's a lowland Scotch whiskey. The box actually says they make their whiskey and distill it in the largest stills in Scotland.
Largest.
It's an Edinburgh malt. Right? It's 43% ABV. I thought it was delightful. But I wanted to find out. So, Brandon, when I first got into my Scotch tasting novelty.
Your novelty.
It's a novelty.
I don't know if it's the novelty anymore, man.
All right, well, not anymore. When I first got into Scotch, I wanted to explain to everybody watching the show that I was down in Florida. My oldest son, actually, we call him a whiskey Scotch snob. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, he's a snob.
He's a snob, definite snob. He sat me down to taste a few scotches, and to be honest with you, I thought it was all gasoline. And he said I was adding too much water because it was so much gasoline. I went down a second and a third time. He kept giving me tastings of different types of scotches, Highlands, Spacesides, Sherried. Then he finally gave me one that was peated.
That was peated?
Peated. Slightly peated. That was Highland Park. Slightly peated. You could taste a little bit of smoke. Came home and I went to a whiskey bar and I had my first truly Islay Scotch whiskey, Laphroaig 10. And I had a Lagavulin. Loved it. Tasting the smoke and the peat really said, you know what, I love this. This is fantastic. And people say that a smoky Scotch isn't an entry-level Scotch. For me, that's what hooked me.
Yep.
Love the peat, love the smoke. It just smells like a backyard barbecue, brings back great memories. And for me, that locked me into tasting Scotch and then brought me out to other whiskeys that are available out there. How about you? What was your foray?
Well, I think I was the original person who wanted to get into Scotch. Years ago, I was trying to, get into it. So I started watching reviews and because I didn't know was whiskey the same as Scotch. I thought there were two separate things. So I started watching videos, which happened to be Ralphie.
Ralphie.com.
Ralphie.com. And this is 2012, 2013. And I didn't know what I was getting into. But then I think I was at a Chili's one day. And everyone was getting drinks. I'm like, I want to do something different. Watch Mrs. Doubtfire. He gets the scotch on the rocks.
Chivas.
Huh?
Chivas on the rocks.
Chivas on the rocks? Bully. So yeah, I went to Chili's. I have no idea what it was. It could have been Dewar's. It could have been some bottom shelf thing. I don't know. But I had it on ice. It was crushed, if I remember correctly. And it wasn't great. I sipped it. I never finished the full thing. And then many years go by. Billy says he's getting into Scotch. You're getting into Scotch. And then I'm like, then I came here. You pulled out Laphroaig.
Laphroaig 10.
Which Billy's like, I can't believe you gave him that as your first whiskey. Why would you do that? Well, that might be my real introduction. By God, that's the best thing I've fucking had. Yeah, I came back from Texas, San Antonio. I had a what do you call it?
Ardbeg?
Barbecue. I had barbecue.
Oh, barbecue.
I had barbecue at some really like run down shack. Took a sip of that. Reminds me 100% of a crisp outer edge of a brisket. Best thing.
It's a beautiful thing.
I think I might just be a Pete head and that's it.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, when you went and tasted the Laphroaig, I remember the look on your face when you tasted that Laphroaig, and you were like, "This is amazing. This is great."
It's just...
And I think the very next day, I think you came back, and you said, I just got an Ardbeg. You got an Ardbeg, was it the Ardbeg 10?
I bought Ardbeg 10 Ardbeg 10 and the Monkey Shoulder.
Monkey Shoulder, my suggestion.
Those are the first two things I bought.
Monkey Shoulder is a nice blended Scotch.
It is.
It's not that expensive.
No.
So it's not that bad. It's not that bad. You can mix it with stuff too. But I drink it
don't
neat.
mix it.
I always drink my Scotch neat. Since I've gotten into Scotch, I do not mix it with anything else except water. A little dab of water, as Ralphie says, bring out some of the.
I do water, but I don't do anything else really.
Right.
Well, if I have a bourbon, I've made bourbon cocktails. I have tried doing an Ardbeg and ginger ale. Tried doing like a highball. I think it's a highball.
I don't know.
It's not too bad. I think Churchill liked this highball.
Churchill highball. I think there was a video on YouTube about the Churchill highball.
Yeah, I think it was from How to Drink or something like that.
Okay.
Dude. But yeah.
So let's get into this. So I'm going to pour us some Glenkinchie 10. All right. And we'll talk about our tasting notes from originally, and we'll see how they compare. And then we'll dive back in. Scotch test dummies. Yeah, that's important.
That's important.
It's very important. You got to have your Scotch test dummies coin on the top.
Or Whiskey Tribe. I have mine at home.
Yeah, you forgot yours today. So you're improvising with a Lafroig 10 cast strength lid. So Brandon, what was your first thoughts about Glenkinchie 10?
It had a very pleasant nose. Smelled like a little bit of herbal or tea, black tea with a little bit of sugar in there.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't taste sweet, but maybe a little bit of honey. Yeah, it's just pleasant. Wasn't
that was your nose?
That was It just hit. It wasn't very. It's what 43%.
43%.
It didn't hit you in the face like normal things. I was using the neat glass.
Okay.
So, yeah, it wouldn't really hit me in the nose to begin with, like, in the face of the alcohol. But, yeah, it smelled really good. It reminded me of a childhood, maybe Disney. I don't know. It smells like something when I was younger.
The happiest Scotch on earth.
I don't know if it's the happiest Scotch.
Well, Disney is the happiest place on earth, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, this correlates. So my nosing experience basically was not as in-depth as yours. I had kind of a scent of fresh flowers.
Yeah, I got that too.
Fresh grass. It's kind of like walking through an open field that had lots of flowers on the perimeter. I even had a scent of like brand new leather because it brought me back to my first leather jacket I had in high school.
I think it's in the closet still.
No, that's a new one. The other one's gone.
No.
At your house.
You're talking about the one that's got like the little...
Yeah, the border, the collar.
Yeah. We still have that.
No.
I used to wear it to school.
Oh, is that right? I should get that back because it probably fit me now.
I don't think it fits you.
Oh, it definitely fit me because I'm actually the same weight as I was in high school.
Don't we all?
I keep my carbs very low. Another big advantage of drinking Scotch or any whiskey. No carbs.
Just a little bit.
No carbs. No carbs, low calorie, great substitute because beer just makes you feel full and bloated. That's another reason why I got into Scotch because I try to reduce my carbohydrate intake, and you really can't drink beer. And light beer doesn't cut it for me. Mm-mm. Scotch does it for me. I drink this slowly over a period of time. I can have it with a nice steak. I even have it with a Five Guys burger. It's delicious.
I don't eat it with food.
Eat food with some Scotch. It brings out more flavor, especially smoky Scotch if you're barbecuing in the backyard.
I have wanted to cook with it.
Buy something cheap.
No. I think like a smoke. This is getting off a tangent.
That's okay. We're allowed to be on tangents. It's our show.
But I think a Lafroig or an Ardbeg would be really good to do with like meat, like cook it with the meat. They're making was it an Ardbeg? I heard recently that was it Lagavulin 11. They're gonna put it in Guinness casks.
That'd be interesting. I'd buy that. I'd spend the money. I wonder if it'll have an age statement though.
It's 11-year-old.
Oh yeah, you did say that.
It's the Nick Offerman one.
All right, we'll have to look into it. So how did the Glenkinchie 10 taste on your palate?
It burned. It just burned.
Prickly?
Oh, it was more than a prickle. It's just like drinking alcohol. Like rubbing alcohol. Like, but it still had like a tea. It still had like a tea smell, or a tea taste, I should say.
Right.
But it was hidden mass within that, just that alcohol burn. Like sometimes I don't get that alcohol burn, but that one just I don't know why it did. It just overpowered everything.
Really?
It was very astringent, sharp. It was oily. It got a little mouth drying when I added water to it. Will I get it now? I don't know.
Okay, interesting. So when I tasted it, my first thought was just sweetness. There was a sweetness to it. Maybe some honey notes I was able to draw out. There was some, I think most of it was just like a fresh outdoors type of flavor to me. Fresh outdoors, flowers, a mild cereal flavor. Maybe that's the malt. I got that a bit. On the finish, I found it to be very prickly and more cereal flavor on the finish for me. It was oily. It did stick around a little bit. Maybe not as oily as some other scotches.
The finish was?
Well, the texture, the feel was oily.
Yeah.
But at the finish, it did stick around for a little while.
I thought it dissipated fairly quickly, but a grass taste or hay or
right.
cereal.
I wasn't really thinking about dryness when I was tasting it. I'll check it out when we go in for another taste and nosing. I added water. It became more cereally on the palate.
Yes, that's what I said. I said
the
malt.
With water.
I said the malt.
I also felt like it became not sweet, but became a little bit more sour, like a cereal that had milk in it too long.
You know, I thought about that too last night.
Did you really? That's what came to my mind.
I thought it might be a sour thing, but I go, this can't be that.
It was sour.
I mean, that's why I put pear. I don't know why pear's not sour, but I just...
Right? And on the finish, after adding water, like a blast of rose. Like if you would take a rose petal and put it in your mouth, although it's poison, don't do that at home. I got that kind of a rose petal flavor.
In the nose?
No, on the tongue.
No. Dude, no, I didn't get that at all. It's because the alcohol literally is... It just overpowers everything.
No, I didn't think this was overpowering at all, the alcohol. It was very tame.
The nose is great, but what's in my mouth, it's just all I'm getting is burn.
No, I got some prickliness on the finish, but I did not get any burn. I thought it was a very smooth, easy drinking scotch. And I would think this is an entry level scotch. This would be what, aside from how we really love smoky whiskeys and that got us into scotch big time. This would be your standard entry level scotches. Hey, look, I finally had something other than some bottom shelf blend at a bar.
I don't agree. I think it's sharp. It's not rounded at all. It's sharp. For someone to be entry level, it needs to go.
Okay, it was Glenfiddich 12, Glenkinchie 10. Which one would you prefer?
Glenfiddich 12.
Glenfiddich 12. Okay, that's considered a sherry starter type of whiskey.
Or I would. Well, yeah, that's the only thing I think of right now.
I thought this was better than Glenfiddich 12.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Let's see.
The nose is fantastic.
Let's see how we do. Smell it. It smells the same as I had before. Fresh flowers. Leather. Definitely some leather.
You know, I can never get leather in anything. I smell my wallet all the time. Can't get it.
Or maybe your wallet's pleather.
No, this is meal related. No, I don't get it. It's very, wow. The alcohol really hits you compared to the neat glass. I do smell the malt though.
I get that. There's a musty flavor on the sides of my tongue. Musty.
I think that's the malt.
It might be the malt. Maybe they're using. Maybe it's an older malt or older. Maybe it's the oak. I don't know, but there's a mustiness to
It
this.
could be the oak.
Let me add a little bit of. I'm gonna add a little bit of water.
It's still sharp in the mouth though. It's kicking everything in there. I think it numbs it a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. You gotta put it on disturb, man.
I'm a popular individual.
We gotta go stop it now.
All right. Excuse me.
Don't walk in front of the camera. He's gotta cut it out.
It was a local call. Okay. Go ahead.
I don't know where we're at.
So, all right, add some water. See what you get.
Sure, but I keep forgetting that little spoon.
You know what? You did mention that you tasted yours last night in the neat glass, which is what you're holding now. We have the water in the neat glass. What are your thoughts about the neat glass? You know, since we just started using that a little bit, getting familiar with it.
It's good. I don't like drinking out of it though.
It is a little bit of a
This isn't
challenge to
something
drink out of.
But I think that's why the alcohol is not as strong.
I find it easier to swirl it in the neat glass than I do in the.
I mean, this is
Glencairn.
that's difficult. He wants to go.
Wise guy.
Wants to be a little dainty.
Dude, you can swirl it more in there. And you also, I think it's easier to gauge how much you're pouring in the glass. Because of the bulbousness right in the middle, you know you got a nice draft.
Right there. Drench really right.
All right,
Right.
listen, I'm older than you. I need a little bit wider glass. But I like tasting it and smelling it out of the...
alcohol has gone.
Glencairn.
Look, alcohol has gone down in the nose. The flowers are coming back. The tea.
See, I never get tea.
It's the first time I got tea. It's. I'm saying it's tea. It could be like a flower. It could be black. I see black tea with sugar. Like the dry leaves.
Right? Man,
That grass. It's really
that
gets,
that mustiness blends in with... It feels... Okay, you know when you mow your lawn
yeah.
and you have that layer of mulch kind of covering the top of the grass if you use a mulcher, and then it rains, and you get that musty grass smell over time if it's a pile of it and you don't rake it up, and when you finally rake some of that mulch off the top of the grass, you smell that musty, pungent smell of that old grass. That's what I'm getting from this right now. I really think I like the musty flavor.
I like mustiness too, but I think that there's other. I don't know. Maybe I'm just biased with peaty whiskeys here.
It's possible. That's okay.
Yeah, alcohol. I just put like 2 scoops of water in there, so.
All right, so let's get down to it. Malt mark. What is your ranking of Glenkinchie 10 which I find to be a good Scotch. It's good.
It's good. I'd make it a daily drinker. How much is it? How much is Glenkinchie?
No, I should have wrote that down. I think I paid about, with tax, it came to about $50.
So it's like probably like $45.
It's like probably like $45, $47, somewhere in there.
I said an 81 last night. I still may say I may bring it down to an 80.
That's low.
Yeah. Again, I think I'm biased, but that doesn't mean it's bad.
I'm going to come in around 87, 88. I think it's an enjoyable Scotch. I love the flavors. Adding the water, I thought brought a little bit more out to it. Made it more flavorful on the finish. Adding the water, I don't find the alcohol overpowering. I do prefer a higher ABV. Right.
I think every time I've had a higher ABV, the alcohol doesn't hit me.
Interesting. Maybe just numbing you up your nose too much. It's possible.
Maybe. But why the lower ABV?
So listen, to keep in the spirit of the previous YouTube video we did, I'm going with the hockey team rating. So if I were to rate this according to the NHL hockey teams and their current performance as we head into week 2, maybe it's kind of week 3, 2.5 more or less. I'm going to say it's the New Jersey Devils, right? It's good. It's a good team. It has promise. I'd like to see this in another bottling.
There's a 12-year-old.
See how it changes.
I bet the 12-year-old is the better one.
Well, we'll have to try the 12-year-old. But, it's not going to be a Stanley Cup contender by any means. It's a cusp playoff team. Possible, depending on the performance of some players who need to step it up. Now, if I was to switch gears and go to Major League Baseball, based upon what we're running into in this season for 2021, gosh, I'd have to say this has the potential of, who would I say here? Maybe the Florida Marlins? Young team, lots of hope, aspirations. They could surprise you. And I think this is a surprising Scotch. I think coming in with low expectations, it could surprise some people. Great entry-level Scotch. Marlins are a good entry-level team for 2021. I say give Glenkinchie a try. Value's there.
It would be a good try.
Okay, now last week we did Talisker Storm.
Yes.
This week we have Glenkinchie 10.
Yeah.
If you had to choose between the two, if I were to say, would you prefer a dram of Talisker Storm or Glenkinchie 10, which would you say, give me that?
That's tough. Because if I say Talisker, you don't want me to say it. Even though I gave it a bad score, I gave it a 78.
Yeah, well, I give it a bad score too.
I don't think that's rounded. That's my thing. That's the only problem. I think it's not round. It's sharp, which I think is a deteriorator. It's someone who pushed people away from Scotch.
Okay.
Usually people say, "Oh, it's a smokiness," which yes, it could be, which didn't push me away. But it's too sharp.
Too sharp.
It's too sharp.
I can take that. That's fine. I disagree. I would go for the Glenkinchie 10 over the Talisker Storm. Even though I prefer smoke. I prefer peat. It's the peat. Oh, the peat.
I think there's other whiskeys you can go to. Maybe it's a second Scotch.
What do you mean by that?
It's say you went towards like a I don't know, like a Altmore, or I guess you say Macallan. I think Macallan might be better than that.
Macallan 12?
Yeah.
Macallan 12 is a pretty consistent Scotch.
Well, we really don't know consistency because we haven't had many different bottlings.
I've had Macallan 12 from 3 different bottles now.
3 different bottles.
I got it at a restaurant one night.
Yeah.
Was the very first bottle I bought was Macallan 12. And I bought another bottle over Christmas. Next week, I would like to do Lafroig 10. And then the following week after that, we'll do a Lafroig 10 cast strength. And then we'll do a combined. So our next 3 episodes will be all Lafroig. Lafroig 10 cast strength, and then a comparison between the two.
Currently.
Oh, unseal it. Unseal it and let's enjoy it, because Scotch not enjoyed is wasted. Slàinte.